Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This video is going to be a full face makeup look with nothing but drugstore favorites. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This video, as I mentioned, is going to be a full face makeup look with some of my favorite drugstore makeup. And it was my aim to try and insert as many brands as I possibly could. So almost every single category I have here for you is going to be a different brand as well. And these are some of my favorite products from these brands. So I just want to chat with you and get ready with me because I'm going to be heading out to work in just a few moments. So I'm doing this in real time and I'll chat to you about the products as we're going along. Before we get into the video, it may be good to know who I am and what I like doing on this channel. My name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly influences how I feel about makeup. I have been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love trying out eyeshadow palettes, Essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's something you're interested in, then I really hope you would like to consider subscribing. So I'm just going to be doing my makeup as usual, but all of the products I'm using are going to be drugstore, from lips to face, everything actually for drugstore. It's the only full face makeup look I can do with just drugstore brands, because there are certain items in my makeup collection that I only get from the drugstore, which is mascara, and things like brow products. Those are always going to be from the drugstore. Currently on my Shop My Stash is this Essence Jelly Grip Primer. So that's the first item we're going to be using to prime my face. This has been lovely. As you can see, we're getting very low down in the little bottle here. It's about 2/3 of the way gone. Of course, it is a green primer, so you can already imagine, I guess, what it is that they're trying to dupe with this, which is the Milk Makeup Jelly Grip Primer, Hydro Grip Primer, and of course also the Power Grip from e.l.f. The Power Grip from e.l.f. I can't use because it gave me some sort of weird allergic reaction. This one I'm fine with, so that's why I prefer the Essence over the e.l.f. one, in case you were wondering. And then we're going into the eyeshadow primer, which is the Kiko Milano Neutral Eye Base. I already did a separate video about Kiko and all of my favorites. This wasn't in there because I wanted to feature some other things, but I knew I would be filming this video as well, so I knew I would be able to show it off anyways. So yeah, the Kiko Milano Neutral Eye Base is a really good eye primer. I also like the Milani, for sure, but this is what's currently in my Shop My Stash. So I could have featured the Milani here, I guess. Because it's, I was like, I should put a Milani product in this full face as well, because I do really enjoy Milani as a brand as well. But they're just a little bit hard to get. And then by the time I can get my hands on a product, they're not really drugstore priced anymore, because Milani is twice as expensive over here. So yes, we are primed and ready to go, which means we can go into foundation. And I knew I had to feature some Essence and Catrice products in here, of course, because I talk about them so often. And I think one of my most recent favorite drugstore foundation-like products is the Catrice Nude Drop Tinted Serum Foundation in shade 004N. I really like this. It's essentially a skin tint, so it works really well. I've already tested it out, and I'm really glad that the brand did this in the end. It's not necessarily a product that I think they're gonna keep around for a long time though, but I like it. It's got a good shade range because it even goes lighter than this. So if you have super fair skin, this could be a nice one. So that's the foundation I want to go in with today. And as you can see, it's labeled as a tinted skin serum kind of thing. So it's like a skin tint, but as you will see when I start blending it out with my brush, it definitely has that light to medium coverage that I like to have, and it's slightly dewy. So here is what that Catrice foundation looks like. I really like this on me. It just works really well, and I love the shade here. It goes on a little bit light looking at first, but I feel that as I blend it in, it becomes a really good match for me. So I love that one. For concealer, I had several options, but I was like, you know what? A concealer I really liked a lot more than I had expected was the Maybelline Super Stay. And this way I can throw a Maybelline product in here, because I don't think, save for mascara, I don't have a whole lot of Maybelline products anymore. Mainly because Maybelline and also L'Oreal, which you'll see in a second, are brands that just don't release a lot of products over here. So then there will be new releases announced on things like Trend Mood and stuff, but then we don't get them. Or if we get them like a year later, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, the Super Stay concealer from Maybelline I really liked. When I was reviewing it, it's a really good drugstore price point. But also over here in the Netherlands where I live, Maybelline tends to be a little bit more expensive than if you were to buy this in the US. And also, for instance, over here, the infamous Age Rewind concealer was like discontinued, and then it went like viral and like the first time around, and then it took like 2 years until we got it again. So the rate at which products are coming our way is not always the best over here. Powder, we're gonna go with one of my favorite powder by Essence. I believe they've now discontinued it. It's the Skin Loving Sensitive Powder. I bought 3 of these in backup when I first thought they were gonna discontinue it. This is very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Filter, I find. I find them very comparable, and this is just a really good drugstore powder. So between this and the Kiko that I mentioned in my Kiko video, I'm like good for powder for the rest of my life. I don't need any others. This one, if you use it with a big fluffy brush, you can go through pretty quickly though. But in recent years, like the past year or so, I haven't really been wearing a lot of powder, just very targeted like I did now. And I no longer use like a really big fluffy brush anymore. I just like this like more targeted approach a bit better. For brows, we're going in with one of my favorite all-time brow pencils. I have 3 of these in backup because I'm currently using one by a K-beauty brand that I've been using for like a year and a half, maybe even longer, and it's just not running out. But I still have a couple of these Soap & Glory Archery brow pencils in backup. And this is like my favorite skinny eyebrow pencil I've ever tried. It's a really good shade for me. I think it's called like Blonde or Blonde Shells, something along those lines. I mean, it works really well for me actually. It's a good shade, it's a really nice taupey color, it's cool tone enough, and the skinny pencil makes it super easy to apply. So I just fill in my brows really quickly with that, and of course we all know I love the Essence Make Me Brow, but as I wanted to put as many brands in here, I decided to go with the brow gel that's currently in my Shop My Stash, which is the e.l.f. Wow Brow, which is like my number 2 favorite brow gel, you could say. The Essence Make Me Brow still takes the cake, but you guys know that about me, and I already have 2 Essence products in this video. This is in the shade, I can't read it. It's too small, but I believe it's just called Taupe. And this is again one of those like, not necessarily grippy, but like brow products that does keep your brows in place, and it's not too wet or gloopy, making it not super messy, and it does have a little bit of those fibers that make your brows look fuller as well. So yeah, that was my mistake. I was applying it to my forehead for some reason. So those are the brows, some of my favorite brow products. For bronzer, I was like, what other brand could I feature? Because I do like some other drugstore bronzers as well. I was like, we're heading into summer, so a cream bronzer is only apt I use it. I was like, and this way I can throw in another brand. This is the Makeup Revolution Ultra Cream Bronzer. This was in my Shop My Stash last month, and I have since learned that a little goes a long way. So just one dab, because else it's going to look really crazy. The first time I was using it again in my Shop My Stash when it was in there, I like really swirled my brush in there and I looked crazy. And since we are heading into work, I do want to make sure I have a little bit of a more subtle look. I'm in meetings all day today. But yeah, I do really like this cream bronzer. It's very sort of similar-ish. It's not the same. But it's definitely on par with the Makeup by Mario sculpt thing that I also really like. It just gives a very similar effect. It's just that the Makeup by Mario is very sheer and therefore really easy to apply. And because in my brain, this is like very similar to the Makeup by Marmoreo, I thought the first time I was using it that I could do the same thing. Turns out I couldn't. So that's why Makeup Revolution cream bronzer with a light hand, it can look really pretty, just don't go overboard. For highlighter, we're gonna stick to the creams. We are doing this one. This is Studio London. This is a Superdrug brand, so this is not very widely available, but I have likened this to the RMS Living Luminizer, and I've mentioned how I feel this product is very similar. It's essentially a face gloss. That's also what this thing is called, I believe. It's the, oh, it doesn't say. You Do You Face Gloss. It's a universal shade. It is, like, for some people, I don't think most people will like the texture of this, but I feel that this works just fine in adding that, like, subtle highlight to not have it be too overpowering. I didn't want anything too in your face today. And I think this is another great sort of like dupe kind of alternative that's far more affordable than the original product. And where would we be? This is another like dupe-like products. There's a lot of products here that could be good dupes, I now realize. But this guy, the MUA Blushed Liquid Blush in Dusty Rose. These are very similar to the Glossier Clap Paint. Like even the packaging is pretty much the same. And this pinky shade is really, really pretty on my complexion. And I'm going with like a cooler toned lip and a cooler toned eye look as well. And I'm wearing a black dress, so I was like, might as well have to go with this one. I just apply some to the back of my hand and pick it up with my fingers and tap it in. Now, one thing I like about these MUA blushes compared to the Glossier is that you don't have to be super careful with it. With the Glossier, it's like one little divot and you can blush yourself up for days. And this one I feel shears out just a little bit more easily. And it's just slightly easier to use. I really like this look. So with the blush, bronzer, and highlighter done, we can move on to eyes. And for my eyeshadow primer, I actually wanted to do something differently. I usually use a MAC Paint Pot as my second primer, but I was like, I have a matte Kiko eyeshadow stick in this soft pink. I'm sure that can be used as well. So I'm just going to apply this as I would use the MAC Paint Pot and just use my finger to blend that out. I kind of use my MAC Paint Pot to block out any veins, and I always feel that this method of double priming with my hooded and more deep set eyes has been the trick to really make any shadow last all day. And it's usually, it's like worked for me with 99% of the eyeshadows I use. I very rarely need a glitter glue to make things stick. Because there isn't anything light enough in the eyeshadow palette I will be using my yogurt eyeshadow to set this primer, because I don't like a tacky primer. I know a lot of people do, but I don't. I feel it messes with the blendability of the shadows that go up on top. Next up, I wanted to make sure that the eye look I do incorporates, again, as many brands as possible. This is currently in my Shop My Stash, the MUA Illusionist eyeshadow palette. So can I say this is a favorite? Not quite, of course, but I have used their 5 pans. And I think that the Makeup Academy MUA eyeshadows are some of the best at the drugstore. The packaging is incredibly cheap, but if this is the same quality as the 5 pans I've used, I know I'm going to love it. And I was like, this way I can still use a new to me product in this video today. But I think I want to work in some of this Mina 24-hour cream shadow in shades 963. It's this really pretty like minky taupe sort of shade that I think I can use as a base to work with some of these shades as well. So what shall I do? So this product is really, really nice from Mina. I think it's one of the best things they do. And they do a lot of different cream products. So, ooh, this has gotten a little bit dry, but still workable. So I'm going to use this as a base, and then I'm going to put the eyeshadow palette on top. Okay, so the base is done. I think I want to go in with this pinky shade for the crease. I'm just sort of whacking this on for the first time, like trying to pick like few shades. This could be like 3 looks that I can do with this week, just to test it out. And as I mentioned, this is the first time I'm using it. But if it's as good as the other MUA eyeshadows I've played with in the past, then I know it's going to be a good one. And these are cheap as chips. I think I want to go in with that plummy shade here. Sort of going for like a plummy vibe, because that also goes with the base I put on underneath. Ooh, this very nicely complements it. We're moving on to the lower lash line. I'm going to be applying this deeper shade here. I'm going to be using some of that like brighter purple on the lower lash line as well. And I think I'm going to put some of that deeper purple on the top lash line as well. Like, this is why these are so special. Like, do you see what happens when I stick my brush in? It's like putty almost. They're not like regular powders. They definitely have something a little bit more creamy to them. And I'm just testing it out right now. And previously, I've sometimes used these makeup MUA shimmers with glitter primer just to make them last a little bit longer. But yeah, we'll just see how this holds up. This is another palette. And I have to say, I've already tried 2 of the new 5 pans, and those were fine without a glitter primer. So we'll see how this goes. I think I just need an inner corner highlight. Ooh, but this is very intense to be an inner corner highlight, but I think I'll just go for it. So that is the eye look done, meaning we can go in with setting spray. I'm using my ColourPop Pretty Fresh. Even though ColourPop is not available at the drugstore, I do feel they're drugstore priced, so I feel this can go. And for mascara, currently in my Shop My Stash are 3 brands that I absolutely adore. I think because this is a slightly smokier eye look, I do have to go in with my black mascara combo. But for a brown mascara, I like to have this one in right now. This is the L'Oreal Lash Paradise in the brown shade. It's not my favorite one. I think I like the Catrice Pure Volume in the brown shade a lot better than I do this one, but this is still really nice. The Lash Paradise in the black is one of my favorite all-time mascaras. But for the black combo, I'm gonna go in with the Essence Lash Without Limits. This is currently in my Shop My Stash. I also used it in a brown, which I also liked. And the ultimate favorite, a product I rave about all the time, the Catrice Glam & Dull Waterproof Mascara. They're just 2 really good ones. And I think Essence and Catrice do some of the best mascaras at the drugstore. The only problem I have with Essence mascaras very often, this one hasn't done it yet, but that they can dry out quite quickly in the tube, I mean, so that after a few weeks you can barely use it because of how gloopy it's gotten. So you do need to repurchase them more often than I do a L'Oreal or a Maybelline, I find. But this one and also the previous one I was using from Essence were actually pretty decent in terms of how long it lasted, so I wasn't too mad about that. But this is like, I think this is the 2nd month I'm using this one, and I can sort of feel it going to that point where I'm like, it's becoming unusable. So maybe in a few weeks' time I'm gonna have to stop using this. And then just because I always want to make sure I separate my lashes and it can last a long time, that's why I always go in with the Catrice Waterproof Glam & Dull. And I also put this on my lower lash line, and it works. No matter what mascara I pair this with, it has worked a charm for years. I think this is like my 20th tube of this or something like that. This is really one of those products that I use up, actively use up, and then I go to the store and I buy a new one. And the last step, we need a lip, and I figured it could be fun to use these products. These are by Wycon. I bought them together and they go really nicely together. It's their Intense Lip Pencil in 54 Mauve and the Matte Icon Lipstick in 07 Mauve. So they're both mauve tones. Here's what the lipstick looks like. It is a little bit more of a brownie mauve, so it has a bit of warmth to it, but I feel that it really nicely brings a look like this together. So going in with the lip liner first, and then putting the lipstick on top. Going in with the lipstick. And here is what that combo looks like. I think it looks really good. So let me round out the video. So there you have it, a full face makeup look with some of my favorite drugstore makeup that I have in my collection, trying to pull in as many brands as possible because I have a tendency to always talk about the same three. Essence, Catrice, and Kiko Milano are definitely my firm favorites. But that doesn't mean that I don't like other brands. So maybe if you have access to some of these, it may be easier for you to find as well, because I feel that drugstore makeup can sometimes be really easy to find if you can find it locally. Some of these, of course, are from different countries, so I don't know exactly. Like Mina is from Spain, Wycon is from Italy, MUA is mainly sold in the UK, but you can sometimes find these things online quite easily as well through European or US retailers. So I'll make sure to have any links in the description box down below if I can find these anywhere for you to purchase. Then I'll make sure to list those in the description box. And for now, just let me know what your favorite makeup products are from the drugstore. I would love to know. So thank you so very much for joining me today. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more by me. I make several videos every single week, and I hope you like to stay tuned for more, and then I hope to see you in my next one. Bye-bye.